And yes, as I stated, what the world is about to celebrate when the ball drops is a false new year. Now, some of you, especially those who may be new to the teachings, those who may happen upon this in the future, may be wondering, well, what do we mean by a false new year? For as long as we've known, every December 31st transitioning into January 1st represented a change of year or the revolution of a new year. We know that, well, from the time the ball drops at 12 midnight, the world will begin to no longer calculate the year as 2025, but 2026, starting with January 2026, then February 2026, March 2026. So if that's the case, if the world is acknowledging this as a new year, how can you say that this is a false new year? Well, in order to answer that question, I'm going to share a little bit of information with you all. I'm going to share some information with you all in regards to how January 1st came to be acknowledged as the new year. Let's get into that real quick. How is it that we now acknowledge January the 1st as our new year? Let's see. This is an article from Encyclopedia Britannica. And the topic of this article is, why does the new year start on January 1st? Which is the exact question that we want an answer to. We want to know, how is it that January 1st starts the new year? When common sense should tell you that with the new year, there should be a springing up of new life, new energy. We should be able to look outside and see that, well, there's been a transition of one season to the next. Right? That's what we should see. But obviously, from December 31st to January 1st, we don't see much of a difference. It's cold, it's dreary, December 31st, and it's just as cold and dreary, if not more cold and dreary, on January the 1st. Right? So how is it that we now acknowledge this as the new year? Well, let's see. In many countries, the new year begins on January 1st. However, this wasn't always the case. So Encyclopedia Britannica is acknowledging a truth that many of us have come to know for quite some time now, but for many of you who are, again, you're probably new to this information, new to this understanding, new to the knowledge of the Bible and being an Israelite, so on and so forth. You may be wondering, well, how is it that I've gone this long in my life without having the knowledge of or the wherewithal to know that January 1st was not always acknowledged or recognized as the beginning of a new year? How is this possible? Well, you're going to find out. So again, it tells us that January 1st was not always acknowledged as the new year. In fact, for centuries, other dates marked the start of the calendar, including March 25th. What you're going to find out is more closely in connection to the proper time of a new year. You're going to find out that the new year starts in what the world refers to or calls March. And the December 25th, at some point, they may have acknowledged December 25th as the start of a new year. So how did January 1st become New Year's Day? We can partly thank the Roman king Numa Pompilius. According to tradition, during his reign, Numa revised the Roman Republican calendar so that January replaced March as the first month. So they're acknowledging that March was originally accepted and recognized as the new year, or that the time of the new year began in March, not January. It was a fitting choice since January was named after Janus, the Roman god of all beginnings. March celebrated Mars, the god of war. Now, we know that the majority of the months, as well as the days of the year in this society, are named after Roman and Norse gods. We understand that the gods of the Gentiles are idols, and that the Gentiles are idolaters. Therefore, the same way we being believers, we deal with time and the understanding of time, and we deal with the names of things, and we deal with the order of things according to how it is represented, documented, and commanded in the Bible. The Gentiles, on the other hand, because they are idolaters, they deal with things according to what is understood, what is documented, and what is commanded according to their idolatrous beliefs and religions. Right? So to make it clear, back when the Most High gave us time, when he gave the Israelites their calendar, when he told us in Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, the days in which we are to celebrate and honor as festivals, high holy days, days in which we worship and reverence him. Not to say that we don't worship and reverence God every day, but these were days that were given high respect above all other days. When the Most High gave us those days, there was no such thing as January, as far as name goes. There was no such thing as March. There was no such thing as June, July, September, October, so on and so forth, at least in the Israelite world. We label months and days according to numbers. And then eventually through time, we began to assign names to our months. So you will see in the Bible the month Nisan. You will see in the Bible the month Aviv. Okay? You will see names in the Bible. Casliu, right? We just recently celebrated a high holy day, which was celebrated in the month of Casliu, the 9th month of Casliu, known as the Feast of Dedication. Right? So through time, we began to assign names to the months of the year. But initially, there were numbers. Month 1, month 2, month 3, day 1, day 2, day 3, so on and so forth. But I'm making this point for a reason. Many people will argue, well, why do we use these terms March? Why do we use the term January? We know that these are Gentile days and months, so on and so forth. Well, I'm going to show you why. You're going to see that regardless of what the Gentiles may use and what we may use and designate for the sake of understanding, because, if I say day 3, the average person is not going to understand what I'm speaking about. If I say month 10, the average person is not going to understand what I'm referring to. Okay? But we're going to show you that regardless of what the Gentiles, the names they may have given, or the names that they may have labeled days, months, so on and so forth, we're going to show you why we still use those terms and why, to some degree, we don't necessarily get in a hissy fit based on what the Gentiles may do on certain days. Okay? But we're going to get into that in a moment. We're still dealing with the origin of acknowledging January as the beginning of a new year. So it goes on to say here, however, there's evidence that January 1st was not made the official start of the Roman year until 153 BC. In 46 BC, Julius Caesar introduced more changes through the Julian calendar as it became known, retained January 1st as the year's opening date. With the expansion of the Roman Empire, the use of the Julian calendar also spread. However, following the fall of Rome in the 5th century CE, or the 5th century AD, many Christian countries altered the calendar so that it was more reflective of their religion. In March 21st, the Feast of Annunciation, and December 25th, Christmas, became common New Year's days. It became clear that the Julian calendar required additional changes due to miscalculation concerning leap years. The cumulative effect of this error over the course of several centuries caused various events to take place in the wrong season. And it goes on, right? But the key point we want to acknowledge is the fact that, number one, January 1st was not always recognized as the new year.